Okay, here we see a golfer with a little bit too much forward press. We'd rather see the hands body centered rather than push so far forward. Let's go ahead and draw a line into here. We'd like him to stay inside that line on the way back. But probably more critically, we'd like to see him swing this box, to pivot that box right on that spine angle right there. So let's see if he makes that turn and gets his left shoulder back to where his right shoulder was. You see right now he's not really spinning around. He's actually tilting his pelvis and his back towards the target line, more in that direction rather than going straight. So we really want him to turn to the back side or to the right side. He's done a pretty decent job of bracing up against the right leg, but he's not getting around behind the swing. He is staying in the box nicely, though. Now he's coming down, losing a little club leg right away. He's starting to throw the head of the club at the ball. Coming in here, as we're coming into impact position, let's see what's going on. Coming in nice and slow. Now here, we'd like to see the right hand rotating over the top of the left hand here. At this point, I should see the back of the right hand, not the back of the left hand. Then we're going to turn in. See, we can still see that the right hand is palm up. We want the right hand at this point to start becoming palm down. We're going to rotate on through. Pretty good finish. Nicely balanced. If we look at this line now, right down through his spine, everything's moved to the front side. So a little bit more momentum going back, but a lot more rotation of those hands coming through. Must have been a little cooler morning this morning. Okay, let's take a look at the swing plane here. Take the club back. It's not bad here, because I am standing a little bit to his right, so I'm not quite directly behind him. Getting up nicely on plane at that point there. Again, we see the old dreaded right knee straightening up, which causes a lifting and a chopping motion rather than a swinging motion at the top. Not enough wrist hinge. The right elbow's flying out a little bit behind him. And we start back down to the swing. You see the head has to drop. And then instead of swinging to the outside, out over the line and out in that direction, he's actually swinging across his body and inside, pulling the club inside of himself. We need to swing out to the right line as that line that's left there. We need to swing in that direction as we're turning to the left. Okay, here we see a golfer with a little bit too stretched out of arms. Notice the arms and the club are on the same line. I'd rather see the arms hanging down about here if we could. So let's go ahead and take a look at the backswing. We need the club head to block our view of the hands from here. And notice as the club comes back, gets too far to the inside. So at this point here, we'd really like to see the club head being over here more where the red circle is. So we're going to move a little further back now. Going to keep turning. Now she's up on the plane very nicely. On the plane. Right there. Perfect. Good. The forearms on the plane. So her stretched out condition hasn't really hurt her backswing too much. She's had a good rotation. She's turned all the way over her back foot nicely. I'll see how she turns into the shot. Drops the hands underneath the swing plane, which is good. Hits from in to out. Now here's what's happening. She hasn't got her weight moving forward. She's sort of scooping and hitting up on the ball instead of down and through the ball. So when you get her weight getting a little forward, she have more of a compressing blow and wouldn't swing it so far around behind her. But all in all, a pretty good swing. We just need her getting her weight forward a little bit earlier. Okay, in this position, what we'd like to see is her hip shifted a little bit more in that direction. The hips are a little shifted to the away from the target side rather than to the target side. So just a little bit of a hip shift to create a spine angle that's more on that line there, and instead of so straight up and down would be better. Let's see, watch the takeaway. And what's causing that, now she's getting that kind of that reverse C look in here, where she's got that curve going on this way. We'd rather see a straight line going back kind of on that line there instead. So she's going to, let's see if she stays on that. There, she pulls away from it a little bit better. That's not too bad, but she had to lift up to do that. So instead of coming more in the flat, loading down on the backswing, she's actually raising up. She's going to turn into the shot pretty good, but now she's going to fall back onto the back leg instead of driving the hip and everything through to get a really nice long arm extension down that target line. She's pulling in and ratcheting her left arm up instead of down. So we're going to work on getting that long extension, which she does really well with the driver, but with the iron she struggles with it. I have a golfer with a pretty good stance. Let's take a look at the hip-leg relationship, then the spine angle coming through. Looks pretty good. What we're going to notice, though, is if you look right here on the knee, you're going to see the knee move right away on the backswing. See, watch the knee move. There it goes. See, it's turning to the inside. We want that knee to stay posted and solid. You're giving away a lot of energy here by letting the right knee straighten, which then gets the left knee moving out that way a little bit. And so we're going to turn all the way to the top of the backswing. The club face is a little bit open at this point. I'd like to see it more parallel with the forearm. The forearm is on this line, but the club is on this line. So we'd like to see that change a little bit. Now let's watch the club come down. See if he drops it. See, it's coming high and over the top a little bit. He does have it inside the hands there. That's pretty good. Knee hasn't yet. Now the knee rotates, but it has to go forward. It has to go, again, to that arrow line, and I'd rather see it rotating more towards the target so that he's a little bit more rotated here. So the foot and the knee is pointing more down the target line than he is over here to the right. Right on through to the finish. Pretty good finish. A little out of balance there. See that? A little wobbly. We're going to work on that a little bit. All in all, not a bad swing. Okay, we see a nice setup here. Got a great triangle drawn in here. Let's see if he keeps that triangle intact. Looks good. Looks good. Still staying there. Arms are staying level. Looks good to me. Coming in. Now again, we're seeing a little bit of what we call that reverse C here, to where that's not a straight line anymore. That's actually falling back. He's falling more towards that direction rather than staying on the line. Okay. I'm going to turn back into the shot again. Bringing the V back, the triangle back into place. Pretty good there. But the club head is passing the hands. See how that passing the hands? We don't want to see the club head pass the hands until the club is parallel to the ground or beyond. So it's passing the hands a little too early. Pretty good extension here. He caught back up to it. What we would like to see is if you look right there on the hands, we can see the glove hand on top of the trail forearm. I want to see the glove hand under the trail forearm. I want to get that much rotation. Move on through to the finish. Good, solid finish. Nice balance. Okay, here we see our left-handed golfer. The spine angle is pretty good, coming up like that. But we see a little rounding around the neck and the shoulders. I don't know if that's a function of lack of flexibility or age or birthdays or whatever it is. We'd like to see the head a little closer to that green line. Be a little bit more comfortable and maybe easier to rotate. Now let's go ahead and draw a line in right about there for the club. Now once again, when the club reaches the hands position, we'd like it to be right there. We'd like to swing to that spot. See what happens here. Now the club again is staying pretty good. He's only missing that spot by a little bit. That's not too bad. Good rotation, keeping that trail knee posted up nicely. Now he has the club extremely closed. Notice that the club face is pointing directly at us instead of rotating it open at all. That means he's really stiff in the forearms and the wrists. He's not getting any flexibility and really will generate no club lag. You can see that the club never got set back to parallel. At this point now, we'd like to see the club shaft pointing down the target line or to that row of barrels out there, but it's really stiff. We need to lighten him up a little bit, but he's bringing the club back nicely under the plane. Notice that he's got his hands right back into a good impact position. He's turning into the shot, powers through it nicely, and rotates around. Gets a pretty good relaxed finish, but we should be able to match that position to the top of the backswing. We'll work on that next time. Okay, we see a pretty good setup here. Strong hands, trying to avoid a slice. The feet could be a little far apart. We'd like to see the arms and shoulders about, the feet about shoulder width apart. You can see they're quite a bit wider than that. The narrower our stance, the easier it is to rotate. So we'll work on that a little bit. The other thing we want to see is he loading onto the back leg or staying stable on the back leg? So we'll just draw a little line here down the back leg. Let's see if he can turn inside that line. Does a pretty good job, but you see he doesn't get a lot of wrist hinge there. But he is loading up pretty good. So we're going to start the club ball. You can see a good club lag there, but by about here we start losing some of the lag. Good rotation. See if he turns into the shot. Now he's starting to scoop it. See how the trail hand, the left hand is getting under the club. We need to have the back of the lead hand pointing more to the ground, so I can't see the logo on his glove. So we're going to have him rotate more into that. Rotate the hand. Turn into the shot. So he never gets any grass to speak of because the club is coming up too soon. The club is going to follow the back of the left hand. The lead hand. I keep saying left hand because I'm used to right-handers. Needs to follow the back of the right hand. If the right hand is up, so is the club coming up. So you can see right here, he comes the back of the hand up, lead hand up, and turns it over. Just about the only flaw I see in this swing for an amateur is to get the back of that glove hand to the ground at impact. We see a good setup here. You can see that the knee is braced solidly to the inside. He's in a solid, strong position. He's got a strong grip with the left hand. The right hand needs to be a little bit more parallel, palm parallel to that hand. But we'll see how he does. Maybe a slight forward press here with the hands to make it a little easier. So we're going to watch the takeaway kind of slowly here. See how much hands he's good. A little handsy there. See that? Not too bad. Good width in the swing. If we could get that width in all of our golfers' swing, we'd be better. But what we're not seeing is that we're turning in to the backside. What we'd like to be able to do is if I just draw a little line right here, we'd want the lead shoulder to actually move around to that line. So instead of doing that, he's just sort of pivoting in the same spot. So we're going to try to get him to rotate a little more onto the trail side. Okay, this is the golfer that tends to set up a little bit like Mo Norman. Not quite a straight arm today as in the past. Notice there's a slight angle there. Not as much as a tour player, but a lot more than he's had in the past. So we're going to see if he maintains that angle through the swing. Taking the club back nicely on the line to the outside, but we're seeing a little bit of lifting. Not much, just a little bit. And then he's coming down a little bit over the top, not too bad. Pretty good rotation right there. See how the hands are rotating through the shot pretty well. And the club is going a little bit out. I'd still like to see it go a little bit more again out to that right side, more out in that direction if you can on the downswing. See it's coming down and across, and see there. We'd like to see it drop more inside that line, especially right about in here. Okay, through onto the finish, nice rotation of the upper body, but the lower body's still a little late. We'd like to see both back pockets and all of the spikes of this foot right there. All the spikes, not just a few. On this golfer, we have a posture that's a little too upright. If we go take a look at the legs, decent flex in the legs, but then what happens is we have a back that's going almost straight up and down here, instead of on a nice angle to 1 o'clock on the face. He'd have to bend over quite a bit more to be able to rotate. In order to do that, he's going to have to try to push his butt out behind him a little bit. The feeling is I want to have my butt out and behind me and up a little bit as an anchor for my swing. So we'll see what happens. Typically with this kind of a setup, we have a golfer that comes over the top of the swing. So let's just go ahead and draw the swing line in. This would be the ideal swing path right about along in there. So we're going to see, so he's going way back to the inside because he's so upright. He's trying to swing around his body. And he's going to come probably, there he's coming back over the top. Right there, he's pulled up out of the shot. Not getting any rotation. Okay, but does turn through it pretty good. So if we can get him bent over a little bit more, we'll have a little bit more consistency in the swing. Try to bend your spine to 1 o'clock. This is a pretty good setup. What I would change is I would straighten out that trail foot so it's square to the target line. We want the right knee in, not out. We post up against the right leg on our backswing. So we're going to see if he's able to stay inside that back leg on the backswing with that foot flared open. So you see how he drifts off way to the outside of that green line? There's no power in that. He's actually not able to push off at all. Rather than rotating past around his spine, he's just shifted his weight to the outside of the back foot with not a lot of rotational effort in it. He's also got quite a bend in his left arm, and his right elbow's flared out a little bit. It's going to create a chopping kind of a motion rather than a swinging motion. Plus, really tough to time getting right back to the ball in the same position you were at setup. So we're going to turn you into the shot now, see what you do. Yeah, not a bad job of coming back in, but notice how you're coming up underneath the ball, underneath the club, I mean. Again, at this point, the glove hand should be visible under the trail arm, not above the trail arm. You're not shifting your weight through, but a good finish at the end. So we just got to get the timing down on that one a little bit. Not too bad. Okay, we have a golfer that's a little too upright here. The spine's too straight up and down. Needs to be more towards 1 o'clock if we can get it there. Knees are bent pretty good, but it looks like the weight's back on the heels a little bit. So if we bent over more, we could have the arms hanging down a little more freely instead of so straight out. We'll also notice that because she's standing so upright, the club's going to go right around her. Whoops, didn't want to do that. The club's going to go around her this way. See how it's going way to the inside, keeps going around. Instead of swinging the club up on the plane, she swings it around. Her arms get really in close to her body. Her hands get really close. She collapses a little bit as she comes to the top. There's no width at all. So now it's hard to create a pendulum-like swing or get any length because the left arm is kind of doing that right there. So we need to get her straighten that left arm out, get it a little longer and away from her chest. So then we're going to have her turn back to the target. And what will happen, because she stood straight up, she's got to dive down with the head and lead the swing with the head. She's going to hit the ground, and the head's going to turn rather than rotating around the spine. See that? So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to work on trying to get you to turn around your spine. Another upright golfer, the spine's almost going straight up and down. Need to get that bent a little more forward, more up here to 1 o'clock. A little bending at the hips there. Plus the lead arm is totally hidden by the trail arm, so that means he's aiming considerably to the left. So let's see what his swing does. We'll put his swing path in there. Not bad there. A little collapsing of that left knee. And then he's going to swing. Good swing out to the right there. So he's swinging out to the right instead of to the left through impact. That's a good swing right there. Turning, rotating through that one very nicely. So even with a little suspect setup, he ends up hitting a pretty good swing because he's able to route that club back to the inside. We seem to be going through a string of golfers that have a very upright stance. And again, we're going to try to get that bent over closer to the 1 o'clock line again, more out this way. So we're going to see a drop of those, the back, several inches to get a little more bent over position, more athletic position. Let's see what the swing looks like. Pretty good takeaway. Now we see the triangle that we set up at the start of the swing that we try to see where it's just like that. You see that's going away. Both arms are bending away from each other. It's okay if the right arm bends down, but you want it to maintain that same triangular look. So we're going to go to the top of the back. So now you see where there's no triangle at all. We really have a square here. Here, here, whoops, here, and then here, and then here, and then there. So the triangle is completely obliterated here. So we're going to try to get him to get his arms a little more extended, especially that left arm, and try to get more into a longer, more of a swing position rather than a hit position or an axe position. Gets to the top of the backswing pretty nicely. A decent amount of rotation. There goes the head bobbing down to the impact zone. Swings through it. Strong and athletic. Ends up pivoting fairly good to the front side, but loses his balance. And that's, again, part of not having the structure in place to create a balanced swing. So over the next 6 weeks, that's what we're going to be working on.